The shocking truth, life as a eunuch exposed at 3 a.m., what they never told you. In the dead of night, when darkness wrapped the world like a heavy blanket, whispers of a long-hidden truth began to echo from the grim corners of history. Imagine a life stripped of vitality, where the very essence of manhood is severed, leaving behind a shadow of survival. Eunuchs, those lost souls, part of a time long forgotten, now resurfacing in stories told by flickering candlelight. With every heartbeat, the chilling sensation of their pain lingers. Was it their fate to serve, to endure unspeakable hardships, or was it something deeper, something sinister? From the dimly lit streets of ancient kingdoms to the secret chambers of power, eunuchs were often the unseen guardians. But get this, they were not just servants. They wielded influence that could topple thrones. Picture a devious smile gracing the face of a high-ranking eunuch whispering in the ear of a sovereign. It sends shivers down the spine, doesn't it? The truth ties tightly around the heart, making it beat louder, and that gut-wrenching curiosity grows with every step into the shadows. What were they hiding? What did they know that was never meant for our ears? Within those hidden worlds, tensions crackled like static in the air of a brewing storm. On one hand, a wealth of secrets, on the other, a haunting vulnerability. Were they mere tools of fate, or did they somehow wield a power of their own? In hushed tones, they spoke of rebellion, redemption, and the yearning for something so simple, yet most profound: identity. The stakes couldn't be higher, pleading for the truth to come crashing out before it's lost to time. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the clock struck 3, an unsettling revelation hung heavy in the air. What if the traditional tales of eunuchs were not just mere folklore but a chilling glimpse into a world we can hardly comprehend? With hearts pounding and breath caught in throats, one question loomed: what if those who played the roles of rulers and servants were forever intertwined in a web of treachery and sacrifice? The secrets of their lives are begging to be unleashed. The night is thick with anticipation. How far into the unknown would you go to uncover the truth? As the last echoes of the clock faded into the shadows, a chill ran down the spine of anyone daring enough to listen. In the stillness, the very air began to hum with a sense of urgency. Something was about to break free. Unseen eyes watched from the dark corners, a gathering storm of secrets ready to spill. Far beneath the opulent halls of emperors, where gilded walls hid the sinister truth of power, one particular eunuch, a man known only as Alaric, was unraveling the threads of his own existence. He was no mere servant, he was a strategist, harboring ambitions that could reshape the empire. But with ambition came risk, and risk had a price. The tension was palpable, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. In the quiet of his chamber, Alaric traced his fingers over an ancient map. It whispered of alliances and betrayals, a roadmap of destinies intertwined. He felt the weight of history pressing on his shoulders, each decision he made a dance with danger. What if he could rise from the shadows? What if he could rewrite his own fate? Suddenly, the door creaked open. A figure slipped into the room, cloaked in darkness. It was Seraphina, a fellow eunuch and a force of nature. Her presence crackled with energy. She was both a confidant and a muse. "Alaric," she whispered, urgency lacing her voice, "they are coming for us. The Emperor suspects our plans." He paused, the lump in his throat tightening as the reality of their situation sank in. "Do you think he knows?" Ghosts of fear danced in his chest, making it hard to breathe. "Not yet. But soon." "The whispers grow louder," she replied, stepping closer, her eyes glinting with resolve. "We must act. The time for hiding is over." A fire ignited within him. Was this what identity meant for them? A fight for existence? He felt the familiar pull of power, the intoxicating idea of taking control, of being more than just a tool of fate. But ambition came with its own darkness, didn't it? Would they become tyrants on the cusp of being liberated, or simply victims of their own desire? "Let us meet with the others," he said, determination thickening his voice. "It's time to turn the tides." As they moved through the hidden passageways, the silence of the night was brutally interrupted by a distant shout. Panic clawed at Alaric's insides. This wasn't just about their rebellion anymore, it was about survival. "Alaric!" Serafina grabbed his arm, urgency fueling her words. "We can't be caught. If they find out," but before she could finish, the heavy door at the end of the corridor slammed open. Torches flared, brightening the darkness like a dawn that promised chaos. Guards, loyalty ignited in their eyes, flooded the space, metal gleaming ominously. Alaric's heart raced as he met Serafina's terrified gaze. What now? Flight or fight? Run! He yelled, shoving her forward as he faced the guards, ready to defend the fragile thread of freedom they'd barely woven together. But would it be enough? Just then, a voice cut through the chaos, a familiar voice, one that sent chills deep into his bones. "You think you can defy the Emperor?" The room seemed to freeze, and Alaric's stomach plummeted. When the shadow stepped forward, who would stand with him in the name of truth and rebellion? And at what cost would that truth come? As he braced himself for the confrontation, a lingering dread gripped the air. Every heartbeat echoed the uncertainty of survival. The moment was upon them, and the next twist awaited on the razor's edge of fate. What would Alaric sacrifice to uncover the truth, and could they uncover the secrets before time slipped away? In the darkness, the night held its breath, waiting. The guards burst into the room, their armor clanking like ominous thunder. Alaric's heart raced as he glanced at Serafina, her eyes wide with fear. Would this be the moment her fire was snuffed out? Would they both die in this forsaken place? "Stand down!" One of the guards barked, stepping forward, his sword glinting menacingly in the torchlight. "We're here for you." "For us?" Alaric scoffed, adrenaline sharpening his focus. "You should know by now that the Emperor wants anyone who opposes him crushed, but he's mistaken if he thinks that's us." He felt braver than he had in weeks, each word pulling him deeper into the storm. "He's ordered your capture," the guard retorted. "You're enemies of the crown now." "What do you know of the crown?" Serafina snapped, stepping in front of Alaric, her voice strong. "You think you fight for loyalty, but you're pawns, tools to maintain control." The guard's face twisted in rage, and in that moment, she was right. Their reality was not about sovereignty but survival. Soldiers were better at following orders than questioning them. With a sudden roar, Alaric lunged toward the guard, an instinct driving him. The world slowed as he threw a punch aimed at the guard's gut. The sound of flesh hitting flesh echoed, shocking even him. The guard doubled over. Serafina seized the moment, darting past him toward the door, the light of freedom glimmering just beyond. "Go!" Alaric shouted, his voice echoing in the narrow passage. He could hear footsteps approaching from the other corridors. The labyrinth of the palace was spiraling out of control. But the fighting spirit in him blazed brightly. This was their chance. "Turn back!" Another guard yelled, an anguished shout. Metal clashed. Alaric felt the heat of battle rise as fury propelled him into the onslaught. He fought hard, each move frantic and desperate. It felt primal, as if he was no longer trapped in the palace but inside of his own chains. He swung, ducked, and kicked, even as the guards pressed closer, their numbers overwhelming. "Alaric!" Serafina cried, terror threading through her words as one of the guards grabbed her wrist, yanking her back into the fray. "No!" He pushed harder, battling his way toward her, the world narrowing around them. Emotions roared within him, fear for her safety, anger at the injustice, and a flicker of something deeper, a longing, like a hunger for liberation. He reached Serafina and grasped her hand, pulling her up as they fought side by side, their movements in sync, each strike a promise to survive. But in that moment, he felt something shift within him. It wasn't just about dodging death anymore. This was their rebellion, their heartbeat echoing in unison against tyranny. Suddenly, from the shadows stalked a figure tall, intimidating, cloaked in authority. Alaric felt his spine straighten. It was the shadow who spoke earlier, a hand raised as though it could command the chaos before them. Enough. The voice ripped through the air like a whip. You dare resist? You are nothing but sand in the Emperor's eye. Holding Seraphina close, Alaric stood his ground, heart thrumming like drums of war. Who are you to judge us? He shouted back, feeling the tension build like a bowstring. We are not your pawns. We've come to bring truth. The figure in the shadows smirked, an unsettling curve of lips that sent chills cascading through Alaric's resolve. Truth? You think your truth matters to the Emperor? You have no idea what's at stake. With that, the air crackled with danger. The guards circled tighter, and for a heartbeat, time wavered. A pivotal moment beckoned. What would both of them sacrifice to reclaim their freedom? Seraphina gripped his arm tightly, her breath warm against his skin. We need to make a choice, Alaric, she murmured, urgency pressing down on them like a weight. And before he could respond, the figure revealed a truth that rocked them to their core, a revelation that could change everything. You are not the only ones playing a game, my friends. As he spoke, something unseen shifted in the darkness, pulling Alaric deeper into the chaos, the revelation blurring the lines of allegiance. Would he dare to listen? What had he truly gotten himself into? As the uncertain second stretched into an abyss, Alaric realized that unraveling this knot could either bind them to their freedom or seal their fate forever. What lay ahead was a choice between love and survival, rebellion and tyranny, and only the next moment would reveal whether they would stand up to the truth or succumb to the shadows once more. Alaric's heart thudded painfully in his chest, a relentless beat urging him to flee or fight. The cloaked figure loomed ominously before him, shadows dancing along the walls as the guards huddled tighter. Every instinct screamed for escape, yet here they stood, trapped in the snare of uncertain words. What do you mean we're not the only ones? Seraphina's voice trembled, yet her defiance blazed. She stepped forward, narrowing the gap between them and their fate. What game are you playing? The figure laughed, a cruel sound that echoed down the corridor. Ah, such fire in you, Seraphina. But understand this, the game is righteousness and power, and you are merely players unwittingly partaking in a tragedy far greater than you can comprehend. Alaric clenched his jaw. Enough with your riddles. If you know something, speak plainly or step aside. We don't have time for cryptic threats. Time? The shadowed figure smiled wider, revealing a sharpness in their glare that made Alaric shudder. Time is the very currency you lack. You are racing toward an abyss, and trust me, the Emperor has laid a deep trap for you. Seraphina shifted beside him, her tension radiating through their joined hands. What do you want from us? She pressed, urgency lacing her words. To offer a choice, the figure replied, gesturing with an elegant, gloved hand as if inviting them into a dance of deceit. Join forces with me, and perhaps you will have a chance to strike back at a regime that has suffocated this land. Or continue on your reckless path, and you will certainly find yourselves dead long before the dawn. The guards inched closer, swords drawn, their faces strained as they awaited their commander's directive. On one side lurked danger, and on the other lay a tantalizing chance at salvation, but who could be trusted? Alaric's mind buzzed, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on him. Why should we trust you? He shouted, desperation creeping into his tone. What's in it for you? Ah, trust, the figure replied smoothly, is a commodity of the foolish. I seek only to disrupt the Emperor's plans. I crave a world where the innocent no longer suffer. We stand at the brink. You could be the spark, Alaric. His breath quickened at the promise wrapped in the figure's words. Could they really change everything? No. A guard stepped forward, voice burning with indignation. You are traitors to the crown. There is no choice to be made here. Surrender now, and perhaps your punishment will be merciful. Alaric's pulse raced as he scanned the faces of the guards, glimpsing a flicker of uncertainty among them. Were they all simply cogs in a machine, just as Seraphina had said? Time is of the essence. The figure hissed, urgency seeping into the atmosphere. Will you embrace life, or will you wither here, lost in this rotting castle? The walls seemed to close in, the night air thickening with tension. Alaric felt the urge to bolt, to storm through the guards and into the unknown. But what lay before him? This was their chance for both them and for countless others. Seraphina's fingers tightened around his as they shared a fleeting look, fear and fire intertwining. We can't run forever, Alaric. What do we truly stand for? The choice hung suspended in the air, shimmering between survival and an uncertain alliance. The guards pressed in, swords gleaming like the eye of a storm. Desperation clawed at Alaric's throat. What is it going to be? He stammered, turning to the figure, his voice trembling with the weight of responsibility. We can turn the tides. The figure declared, raising an arm dramatically as if conducting fate itself. But first, you must make your choice. Will you risk everything to fight for freedom, or will you allow fear to keep you shackled? The moment crackled, an electric silence enveloping them all. Alaric felt it, the gravity of history shifting around him. Seraphina looked between him and the figure, a storm of emotions churning in her eyes. Together? She whispered, drawing strength from their bond. He inhaled deeply, the weight of his decision pressing down, as the world stretched out before him, the battle for their souls. And then came the sound that shattered the tense moment, a loud crash from the end of the corridor, the sound of boots marching forward, an unstoppable force drawing closer and closer. Whatever choice you make must be now. The figure shouted, urgency breaking into panic. This moment will define you. Alaric felt his heart galloping toward the future, but would it lead to their freedom, or to their doom? Chaos erupted as the echoes of boots thundered through the corridor, drowning out the cloaked figure's words. Alaric's heart fell into a pitch of disbelief. The sounds weren't just a distant summon of guards, they were imminent, a force barreling toward them with brutal intent. Quick! Seraphina urged, her voice cutting through the panic. We don't have time for more riddles. If we're going to fight, we need to decide. But Alaric wasn't ready. Anxiety twisted in his stomach, gnawing at his courage. Options, Seraphina. What do we do? Fight or run? She shot back, her face a mask of fierce determination even as fear danced in her eyes. Join me. The figure hissed again. Now. There's still time to make a stand. The guards advanced, boots stomping against the cold stone floor, steel glinting under flickering torchlight. Alaric looked to them, their stony faces declaring allegiance to the crown. Might they hesitate, influenced by the whisper of rebellion, he turned back to Seraphina, her fierce spirit igniting the spark of bravery he desperately needed. There lay the figure, shadows cloaked in a broader darkness, but perhaps there was power waiting in that unknown. They could forge an alliance, create a front against the Emperor's tyranny. The weight of the moment pressed painfully on him. Together, he said, each syllable carving out determination. He clenched Seraphina's hand tighter. We fight. The figure smiled, a knowing glimmer sparkling in the depths of their hood. Then in a swift motion, they pivoted around, arms outstretched, as if conjuring forces unseen. Then prepare yourselves. Alaric felt urgency tight in his chest as the guards closed in, their swords ready to taste blood. But just as the first guard lunged, the figure stepped forward, and with an incantation that rolled out like thunder, a wave of energy surged from their hand. Before Alaric could comprehend, the ground beneath the guards trembled, a blinding light exploding into the corridor. The very air crackled and flickered with power as shadows folded in upon themselves, blurring the boundaries of the walls. Instinctively, Alaric shielded Seraphina, pulse racing, breath shallow. The first guard stumbled, confusion flickering across his grim features. Others hesitated, glancing back like confused children in a storm. Now! Move! The figure commanded, voice electrified with authority. While they falter, Alaric surged forward, dragging Seraphina with him. The world was chaos, time distorted as they plunged past the guards' astonished faces. But just as they reached the threshold of escape, he felt something snag at his arm. "Did you think you could escape so easily?" the cloaked figure hissed. "You'll need more than a spark to ignite this revolution." Before he could respond, a powerful grip clutched his shoulder, spinning him around. The guard who had stumbled was now firm, his grip vice-like and filled with rage. "Seize them!" he shouted, calling forth his comrades from their bewilderment. Alaric's heart sank. The fight had already begun, and it was only drawing tighter. Seraphina, sensing his shock, fumbled with her dagger, eyes wide with fear but burning with resolve. "We can't go back now. Not after what we've witnessed. Then we stand and fight." Alaric roared, his own blade drawn, a flicker of steel glinting in the dark. The figure lingered momentarily, shadows swirling around them, a silent promise of power, as they smiled at Alaric. "Remember, your choices matter, but sometimes, destiny has its own plans." With a shout echoing in his ears, Alaric squared his shoulders. The efficient clink of steel rang sharper than before, but now, amidst the advancing guards, adrenaline rushed thick. The guards circled, there was no retreat. It was life or death, and the only choice left was to stand defiantly against tyranny. As swords clashed and the sounds of combat roared, the cloaked figure vanished like mist, leaving Alaric to grapple with the chaos. And yet, as the weight of battle surged through him, a flicker of doubt ignited where the figure had once stood. What had they truly unleashed? What mysteries were yet to unfold? Alaric could only think of survival as the enemy closed in. But would this be the defining moment that sparked a change, or would it seal their fate within the castle's cold stone? Destiny hung in the balance, and with a deep breath, he readied himself to face whatever horrors awaited. The clash of metal echoed like thunder as Alaric found himself drawing deeper into a vortex of chaos. As he faced the guards, their eyes flickered with adrenaline and fury. Nothing in their world had prepared them for the eruption of magic, nor for the betrayal of a cloaked figure meant to lead them out of despair. One guard lunged, sword slicing through the air with deadly precision. Alaric barely managed to deflect the blow, his heart hammering in time with the clash of steel. He could feel Seraphina's presence beside him, her breath quick but steady, lending him strength even as panic closed around him like a tightening noose. "Left!" she shouted suddenly, quick to assess the shifting tides of battle. Alaric followed her command without hesitation, pivoting just in time to avoid a blade headed straight for his side. He swung his dagger in retaliation, the steel biting into flesh, and the guard fell back with a pained gasp, but the initial surge of triumph was fleeting. More guards piled in behind their leader, their faces steeled with anger and a fierce loyalty to the Emperor's decree. Alaric remembered the figure's words, the weight of their promise. They were supposed to have the power to change everything. Why had they abandoned them now? "Focus!" Seraphina snapped, breaking through his thoughts. Her eyes were fierce, filled with a fire that wouldn't dim. "We'll find a way out of this." Alaric darted forward again, battling two opponents this time. The air felt charged, every movement slowed under the crushing weight of impending doom. He slashed through one guard but took a blow to his side for his effort, sharp pain erupting like a volcano. He gritted his teeth, stifling a cry as he pushed on, each pulse thrumming as if it were urging him to fight harder. The corridor felt like a steel trap, narrowing with each overwhelming wave of guards. Alaric's breath came in ragged gasps, muscles straining against the sheer force of their numbers. They were endlessly pressing, a tide he could barely stem. Then, amidst the fury, one guard fell to the ground, clutching his throat, a shadow darting through like a phantom. The figure. They must have returned. But where were they now? Alaric's heartbeat quickened, his instinct screamed for allies, for the support that was supposed to come from the figure's promise. Serafina caught a glimpse over her shoulder, eyes widening. Alaric! Look! There, at the edge of the corridor, a dark portal flickered, smoldering with energy and uncertainty. Alaric felt drawn to it, an urgency to escape surging through him. Retreat! He called to Serafina, summoning all the volume he could manage. It was reckless, but their choices had narrowed. Bombarded as they were by swords and shields, the only path to freedom was to risk everything and hope for deliverance. With a determined nod, she turned. They fought their way back toward the flickering portal, blades catching in the sparse light, every swing a desperate plea for survival. The guards roared, their voices a savage chorus, refusing to let them go. But Alaric pressed onward. Just as they neared the portal's edge, a guard slashed at Serafina's leg, making her stumble. Time slowed as Alaric felt her grip weaken. No! He lunged, knocking the guard back, but it cost him precious seconds. Go! Serafina shouted, tears of frustration spilling down her cheeks. I can't hold them. Alaric's world tilted as fear constricted around him. He couldn't leave her. We're not done yet. He yelled, his voice breaking as steel clashed all around them. In that frantic instant, a realization struck through the chaos. How could they fight a revolution when betrayal lurked in shadows, unpredictably looming? The cloaked figure had left them here, in this storm of swords and anger. With brute force, Alaric pulled Serafina closer, pulling her toward the portal. There was no going back now. Either they would step through and confront whatever lay on the other side, or they would succumb to the onslaught. As they reached the edge of the portal, it flickered, a sight that beckoned and warned all. At once. Together they dived into the void, surrounded by a cold embrace of darkness, and then, just like that, they were gone. Moments later, breathless and disoriented, they tumbled into an unfamiliar world. Alaric's heart raced, dread twisting in his gut. Were they safe? Or had they just traded one prison for another? Fingers trembling, Alaric steadied himself, scanning the new environment. But the shadows lingered, a haunting whisper promising secrets. What awaited them now in this strange, hidden realm? Would the dark figure return, or would they find themselves even more ensnared in a web of betrayal? Alaric's eyes adjusted to a dim light, the shadows dancing around them like specters of their past. Safe or not, the moment felt heavy, thick with uncertainty. He and Serafina were surrounded by towering trees, their limbs twisted and gnarled, like the fingers of some ancient creature. Where in the name of the gods are we? Serafina whispered, her voice trembling as she pushed herself off the damp ground. Alaric could hear the tremor beneath it, a fragile shell over her fear. I have no idea, he replied, searching for anything familiar. The air was thick with an earthy scent, both comforting and foreboding. It stirred an instinctive caution within him. They had escaped the guards, but that barely scratched the surface of their troubles. As they moved cautiously through the shadows, a low growl cut through the silence, chilling Alaric's blood. They froze, eyes wide, scanning the underbrush. What was that? Serafina asked, inching closer to him. Stay behind me, he commanded, trying to sound brave while the pit in his stomach clawed at him. He took a careful step forward, the crunch of leaves underfoot sounding like thunder in the tense stillness. Suddenly, a massive creature lunged from the shadows. A wolf? No, larger, its fur black as midnight, eyes glinting with an intelligence that sent shivers down Alaric's spine. The creature stopped short, heavy breath puffing from its flared nostrils, assessing them like they were pieces in a game. We need a plan, Alaric whispered, but he felt utterly unprepared. This land was strange, terrifying in its beauty and wildness. The creature shifted, snarling softly. Alaric's heart pounded. Maybe if we go quietly, it'll leave us be, he suggested, inching backward as slowly as he dared, but it didn't work. With a speed that took Alaric's breath away, the beast lunged forward, and instinct kicked in. He shouted for Seraphina to run, and just as the creature leaped, Alaric shoved her aside. The world slowed as he felt a scorching pain rip through his side, claws raking deep. He staggered, caught in a haze of shock and agony, but Seraphina was there, pulling him up, her eyes wide with horror. "We need to move. Now!" she screamed. Alaric forced himself onward, ignoring the blood soaking into his clothes. They darted through the trees, the low growl of the beast echoing in pursuit, a relentless shadow that mirrored their desperation. The terrain was treacherous, roots snagging at their feet like unseen hands trying to pull them down. "Over here!" Seraphina shouted, spotting a narrow formation of rocks. They ducked behind the outcropping, breathing hard as they pressed against the cold stone. Their eyes searched the darkness for a sign of the creature. Alaric's wound burned like fire. The moment of respite granted only an echoing silence, filled with the sound of their heavy breathing. "Are you okay?" Seraphina asked, breathless and terrified. "I will be," he grunted through gritted teeth, the edges of his vision starting to blur. We just need a moment." But as soon as the words left his mouth, the growl returned, louder now and closer. Alaric looked at Seraphina, fear threading through them both. Was this the end? Just then, the shadows shifted, the beast emerging, its eyes locked onto Alaric's. But a figure stepped out from behind the beast, cloaked in shadows. It was the same figure who had betrayed them before. "How could you?" Alaric spat, frustration boiling over. "You left us to die." The figure raised a hand, and the creature halted, its growl fading into an eerie silence. "You misunderstand," the voice whispered, deep and resonant. "I can help you, but you must trust me." "Trust?" Alaric's heart thundered in his chest, but a darker fear loomed. Could this figure be a savior or another lie cloaked in deception? The creature shifted, growing restless. Time was short, and decisions had to be made. "Choose wisely," the figure continued, the shadows swirling around them, promising both salvation and peril. As light swirled in the darkness, Alaric's pulse raced. What fate awaited them now? Would they make another choice that would alter their lives forever? Alaric's breath hitched in his throat as he struggled to process the figure's words. The weight of their situation crashed down on him like a wave, showering him with doubt. "Trust you?" he whispered, scarcely able to believe he was even considering it. The beast's presence loomed nearby, waiting, silent yet ominous. "You didn't seem concerned about our lives back at the castle," Seraphina shot back, her voice tinged with anger and fear. "Cloaked in shadows, you betray us. Why should we trust you?" The figure, unfazed by Seraphina's outburst, stepped closer. Moonlight glinted off the edges of a sharp jawline, revealing a face that looked both familiar and foreign. "I had no choice. They were coming for you." Alaric's heart raced. "What do you mean? Why would they hunt us now?" The betrayal from before was like an open wound, yet the glint in the figure's eyes hinted at a deeper conflict, one that reached beyond mere survival. "Because you are no longer just fugitives," the figure replied, voice dropping to a whisper, "you hold the key to a power they cannot allow to exist." A cold chill swept through the air, and the ground beneath their feet felt unsteady. Alaric and Seraphina exchanged uncertain glances, neither knowing what this stranger spoke of. "What power?" Seraphina demanded, clenching her fists tightly. "Your bloodline," the figure said, each word heavy with meaning. "It is ancient magic destined to awaken. They want to eradicate it before it can come to life." Seraphina's brow furrowed as she grasped Alaric's arm. "Is he telling the truth?" "I don't know," Alaric stammered, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The beast shifted, hunching lower, its eyes locked onto them, judging them. Time was slipping through their fingers. "Will you come with me?" The figure pressed, a hint of desperation in his voice. I can help you unleash what lies dormant. But it won't be safe, and they are coming. With a flick of its tail, the creature growled deep in the throat, sending vibrations through the ground as if it could sense the urgency thick in the air. Alaric fought against the nausea curling in his stomach. Trust was a fragile thing, one wrong move would shatter them both. And if we refuse? He challenged, eyes narrowing. Then you won't live to see another dawn, the figure replied, glancing back toward the darkness, and the power within you will be snuffed out with you. Their grip is strong, they won't stop until you're dead. Seraphina shook her head, confused yet fiercely protective. What about us? How do we know you're not just leading us into another trap? The figure let out a breath, the shadows around him swirling more furiously. Because I've faced them before. I know their weaknesses. But time, he glanced at the creature again, is not on our side. Alaric's resolve hardened, ignited by instinct. We have to take the risk. If there is even a chance. His voice trailed off as he glanced at Seraphina, uncertain but steadfast. All right, she said finally, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. But if you betray us again, I swear. Enough, Alaric interrupted, feeling the energy shift. Let us move. The figure nodded and waved them forward. The air shifted, charged with fear and hope intertwining. They ventured deeper into the shadows, following the figure, pushing past the thorny branches that snagged at their clothes. But shadows have a tendency to hide more than they reveal. As they weaved through the dense underbrush, Alaric couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched, not just by the beast, but by other unseen eyes, a presence that felt ancient and malevolent. Where are we going? Seraphina dared to ask, casting worried glances back towards the direction that seemed safe a few heartbeats ago. To the Forgotten Grove, said the figure, his tone darkening. It holds the key, but beware. The Guardians live there, and they won't let you pass easily. Alaric's heart sank as he considered the implications. They were not just running from the past anymore, they were charged with awakening a legacy trapped between worlds. As the chilling silence wrapped around them, the distant echo of claws echoed again. What pursued them was still close, and he felt the malevolence stirring behind them. Did they just trade one nightmare for another? The beast's guttural growl reverberated through the trees, louder and now echoing with a chilling resonance, raising the hairs on the back of Alaric's neck. Faster! He urged, the urgency spilling into his voice. As they rushed forward, all he could think of was whether they would survive long enough to figure out what this twisted fate actually meant. Was the power they carried truly a blessing or a curse? The ground trembled as they pressed onward, uncertainty licking at their heels like fire, while the figure's chilling smirk loomed just ahead. What awaited them in the grove could change everything or destroy them. Alaric could hear the snapping of branches behind them, a reminder that the creature was not far off. With every hurried step, the weight of decisions pressed heavily on his chest. They were racing against more than just the shadows, the very fabric of fate seemed to weave tighter around their destinies. Is it really so dangerous? Seraphina's voice broke through his spiraling thoughts, her breath coming in short gasps. What if they attack us? Those guardians, who are they? They are ancient. Bound to protect the secrets of the grove, and they won't take kindly to intruders, the figure warned, glancing back as the foliage began to age around them. The twisted trees loomed overhead, their gnarled branches resembling skeletal hands reaching out, as if to warn them to turn back. Panic flickered in Alaric's mind. What makes us so special? Why would they care about us? Because your bloodline has touched their realm before. Your ancestors made pacts, forged realms from nothing. The figure's eyes burned with intensity, and for a moment, the shadows shifted, flickering like flames in the dark. They fear your awakening. Seraphina's hands trembled slightly, and for a brief moment, Alaric caught a glimpse of remorse in her eyes. We're just kids. How can we be responsible for something so massive? Sometimes, we are thrust into roles we never chose. It's what we do next that defines us, the figure replied, voice dropping to a mournful whisper. But the weight of his words sank deep into Alaric's heart. Shadows can consume a person, he thought. Maybe they were about to lose themselves entirely. But they had no time to dwell on inaction. Keep moving, Alaric urged. The dense foliage twisted into a wall, the forest suddenly thickening around them, closing in like the grip of fate itself. The earth felt alive beneath their feet, pulsating, thrumming with an energy that felt both alluring and terrifying. Serafina stumbled, and Alaric reached back, grasping her wrist. "We have to!" A roar erupted from behind them, primal and filled with rage. Alaric's heart raced as fear ignited within him. The beast was gaining ground. "Run!" he shouted, pulling her forward, adrenaline surging through him. Their pace quickened, a frantic dance of survival. The tension was palpable in the air, an unbearable weight of fear and desperation. Alaric could practically feel the breath of their pursuer on their backs, hot and wild. It sent icy tendrils of dread racing down his spine. Suddenly, the trees parted. A clearing opened before them, bathed in an eerie light. At its center stood an ancient stone, inscribed with markings that glowed faintly. It looked both inviting and menacing, a cold welcome from the forgotten grove. "This is it," the figure breathed, awe mingling with terror. "The power lies within. Do we dare to step forward?" Serafina's voice quivered as she stared at the stone, fear battling curiosity. "Trust him?" Alaric asked, voice low. "After everything? We don't have time." The figure insisted, his expression turning frantic. "The guardians will sense your hesitation." The ground frothed beneath them, shaking with the anger of unseen forces. Alaric glanced over his shoulder. The beast was nearing, its silhouette ominous against the dim light of the grove. They had a choice: reveal their potential or accept the inevitable doom of the shadows chasing them. Together? Serafina's eyes flickered with determination, and though fear licked at their heels, there was also a spark of hope. Together, Alaric affirmed, his heart pounding wildly in his chest. Side by side, they took their first steps into the ancient magic of the grove, an unknown territory that was both alluring and dangerous. But as their hands touched the stone's cool surface, a horrifying scream echoed through the air, shaking the trees and rattling their bones. It was a sound laden with betrayal and loss, a reminder of how fragile their hope was, what twisted reality awaited them within the grove. And could they really awaken what lay dormant without losing themselves in the chaos? As their fingers grazed the stone, a jolt of energy coursed through Alaric and Serafina, sending shivers down their spines. The ancient magic pulsed like a heartbeat, syncing with their own, as if reacting to the very essence of their beings. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the air thickened, curling like smoke around them. They made the choice. Now it was time to face the consequence. "Keep holding on," Serafina shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Alaric locked gazes with her, fear and determination fueling the fire within. They would not allow themselves to be swallowed by the shadows. The stakes had never felt so dire. A distant growl echoed sharply behind them, snapping their focus back to the dark creature, a beast that seemed to embody the very night they had escaped. It emerged from the trees, muscles rippling under ebony fur as it charged forward, hungry, relentless, furious at their defiance. "We can't be caught now," Alaric urged, feeling the weight of time collapsing around them. With a surge of strength, Alaric and Serafina pressed their palms against the cool stone. A sharp light erupted as ancient glyphs began to glow fiercely, wrapping them in a cocoon of otherworldly energy. The beast hesitated, almost confused by the overwhelming power flooding the grove. "Are we ready?" Alaric's voice trembled, both from fear and exhilaration. "Ready or not, we have to trust it," Serafina replied, heart racing. They had no choice. The weight of their past, their identities, their pain mattered little in the face of their future. The elders of the grove would sense their need and respond to their call, or so they hoped. A fierce wind stirred, swirling leaves around them, and then a booming voice shattered the air, ethereal and authoritative. You have awakened the ancient magic. What do you seek? Alaric inhaled sharply, every nerve ending lit with fear and expectancy. Freedom. Knowledge. We want to fight against the tyranny that binds us and every innocent soul. It felt brazen, challengingly direct in the presence of a power so pristine, yet felt right. The silence that followed was palpable, the air thickening with tension. Then came the haunting growl of the creature again, moving closer, its eyes fixed like burning coals. Choose your path, the voice continued, for not all may survive this reckoning. Alaric's heart pounded. What did they truly seek? Together, Seraphina said, the fire in her gaze unwavering. It was more than just a promise, it was a bond that forged their fate. We unite. Yes. Alaric echoed, feeling the truth rise within him. We unite against oppression. The stone erupted in incandescent light, swirling in colors beyond comprehension, reaching out into the shadows. The presence of the guardians materialized, spectral figures emerging from the light cloaked in memories of those who came before. Show your worth, or face the darkness. One guardian's voice roared, face stern. With that, the light swept out, encircling Alaric and Seraphina in a shimmering halo, releasing their hidden power into the world. Energy surged through them, the bloodline of their ancestors flowed freely, awakening a legacy that had long been dormant. Still, they felt the heat of the beast's rage drawing nearer, clawing at their souls. Alaric gripped Seraphina's hand, squeezing tightly, their heartbeats synchronizing amid the chaos. Whatever happens next, we will face it together. He shouted defiantly. The grounds began to shake violently, roots broke through the surface, dancing in a rhythm that mirrored their urgency. The beast lunged, but collided against a shield of light, a protective barrier that amplified their combined strength. Then, with a roar that echoed through the grove and reverberated against the heavens, a burst of energy whirled around them, pushing back the encroaching darkness. Light and shadows battled fiercely, colliding in a storm of powers, illuminating the forgotten grove with a taste of hope. From within the turmoil, Alaric saw the eyes of the creature soften, losing the ferocity it once held. Release him! Seraphina yelled, as almost a plea directed at the guardians. Alaric felt her pulse surge through him. They were not just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for every soul caught in the web of tyranny. With a roar of resolve, Alaric shouted back, "We demand freedom for everyone, for us and for those shackled in silence." The guardians listened, eyes glimmering with respect, weighing their intentions. Together, then, you shall be the flame which ignites change. They proclaimed, granting them their power, their destiny. The shadows thinned, recoiling in fear of the light they had summoned. The spectral images began to drift away, and as the protective shield faded, Alaric and Seraphina, heart and soul united, emerged into a new dawn, a new burden of hope igniting within them. The grove transformed, revealing a path out into the world, towards the heart of the empire they had fled, ready to stand against the tyranny. This was their life to reclaim, a battle against shadows of the past and an awakening set to shift the tides of history. As they stepped forward, Alaric turned to Seraphina, determination glowing in his eyes. No more crawling in shadows. We fight in the daylight. Together, we'll forge our destiny, she replied, voice resolute, as they felt the weight of the ancient magic coursing through them, setting forth to reclaim their truth. Each step ignited with purpose, they faced the uncertainty ahead with one shared truth: they had awakened a legacy, and this time, they would weave the story in their favor. A new chapter awaited, and the cries of the oppressed would soon echo louder than the dark, for they were no longer merely survivors, they had become warriors. This was not just an end, this was their beginning. Don't let the story end here. You need to subscribe now to make sure you don't miss the next exclusive tales that dive into astonishing truths and adventures waiting to unfold. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm and keep these stories coming straight to you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Alaric and Seraphina's next moves. What do you think awaits them in the Empire? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this thrilling conclusion and join this incredible journey. Your support means everything, so let's carry the torch of truth together.